Hi, everyone, and welcome to God's Plan, Your Part, a podcast where our goal is to read the entire Bible in a year, seeking to understand God's plan of redemption while discovering daily and practically your part in it.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to God's Plan, Your Part. Today we are looking at Psalm 102 to 104. So we're really only reading 3 Psalms. I encourage you to go read those for yourself or stick around. Make sure you listen to the entire reading at the end of this episode. These 3 Psalms, one doesn't necessarily stand out over the other to me, but compared to 103 and 104, 102 is unique. 102 is a Psalm of Lament. We've read a couple of those recently, where basically like the writer is crying out in distress to God. Now, I think the last Psalm of Lament that we read was 88, and it didn't resolve at all. It was just very sad and stayed sad. This psalm is not going to do that. This psalm is going to spin around at about verse 12 and start to focus on the Lord and his power. So Psalm 102 starts out like this. Hear my prayer, O Lord, let my cry come to you. Do not hide your face from me in the day of distress. Incline your ear to me. Answer me speedily in the day when I call. Basically, the writer is just crying out from a pretty dark place, saying essentially like, God, please listen to me. It seems like you can't hear me. I am in complete distress. Not only is the psalmist in complete distress, they go on to describe their physical condition. It's affecting who they are. It's affecting just how they feel. It's a dark place, feeling afflicted and crying out for help from God. What's interesting is about halfway through the psalm psalmist turns their eyes from their own condition to the power of God. In verse 12, it says, But you, O Lord, are enthroned forever. You are remembered throughout the nations. You will arise and have pity on Zion. It is the time to favor her. And at the end of the psalm, at the very end of the psalm, there it says, the children of your servants shall dwell secure, their offspring shall be established before you. So what's interesting to me about Psalm 102 is we've talked about this idea of Psalms of Lament, where like, hey, if you're having a tough time, if you feel apart from God or you feel distant from God, it's okay to cry out to God and tell him exactly how you're feeling. You don't have to hide your thoughts, your feelings from God. We have talked before just about a little bit of a caution of like, you don't want to stay there. You want to keep your eyes fixed on God. And that's actually what happens in Psalm 102. Instead of just continuing to focus on their distress, the psalmist turns their eyes to God and says, you know what, God, I know you have a plan for me. I know that you have all the power. You have all the authority. You are gracious. You are merciful. You care for your people. And so I will trust in you. So if you are in a place where you're experiencing deep distress, I would encourage you, just me, not to be like a Psalm 88 kind of distress where there's just no end and you just continue in distress. I think Psalm 102 is kind of a good example of, yes, we are disappointed. Yes, we are frustrated. Yes, we have, difficulties in our lives, but keep your eyes fixed on the Lord. Keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. He does care for you. He does love you. He will provide for you. You just have to be faithful to what he's going to do. So that is kind of my take on Psalm 102. Psalm 103 and 104 are part of a series of Psalms that bless the Lord because of his love for his people. And they actually make an appeal to the creation order. It's Psalm 103, 104, and 105. They all talk about basically like calling out in thankfulness to God and worshiping him for who he is. The most interesting one, I guess first off, it is very cool to think about this concept of blessing the Lord with your soul. I think it is something to think about and dwell on. Maybe that's a challenge for you today. Like, how can you bless the Lord with your soul today in whatever it is you're dealing with? I think this episode comes out on a Sunday. It's very easy to bless the Lord with your soul when you go to church and you worship, man. Like, worship without holding anything back. Just worship the Lord with everything that's in you, with your whole being. Be thankful for Him for what He's done for you. If you're not gonna, if you listen to this after church or whatever, cry out to the Lord in your personal devotions or at your family time, whatever you do, however you do it. Bless the Lord with your soul and think about how you can align yourself in a way that is what you're doing. There is some interesting things about the character of God in Psalm 103. Verse 8 says, "The Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love." This is what Jonah knew about God, and that is the reason Jonah did not want to witness to the people in Nineveh, because he wanted judgment to come on the people instead of forgiveness to come on the people. And Jonah knew that God loved mercy, and the psalmist here knows that God loves mercy as well. Verse 13 says, "As a father shows compassion to his children, so the Lord shows compassion to those who fear him, for he knows our frame. He remembers that we are dust." This is basically saying God knows that we are not like him. He knows that we are just humans that will pass away into dust. And so he is compassionate to us and gracious to us when we fear him. If we fear the Lord, if we have awe for him, if we worship him, if we follow him, he's merciful to us. He has compassion on us because he knows our human condition and he cares for us in that condition. The opposite end of that is actually discussed in Psalm 104, where if you do not fear the Lord, he will judge you, and in a sense, he will come against you because you are against him. So moving into Psalm 104, this one is really interesting because it seems to follow the creation account. Some people think that is exactly what it does. Some people think that's a little bit of a stretch. But what Psalm 104 is going to do is cry out to the Lord, "Bless you, the Lord, O my soul. O Lord my God, you are very great." This is this idea of just consistent worship of God. But then the psalmist is going to walk through day by day of the creation account in kind of this poem of worshiping the Lord. And he's worshiping the Lord by remembering what it was like when God made the world. And so what you can see here, verse 2 talks about light on the first day. Verse 2 to 4 talks about splitting up the waters. Verses 5 to 18 talk about the land and the water becoming distinct, and also vegetation and trees. Verses 19 to 24 talks about basically like day and night, kind of how we keep time, how we understand things. Verses 25 to 26 talks about creatures in the sea. And then 21 to 30 talks about land animals and ultimately humanity, and that God provides for humanity. So it's almost this worship poem, this worship song that is based on the creation account in the beginning of Genesis, which shows us that the psalmist's understanding of creation is the same as ours today. So anytime we find something throughout the Bible that supports other parts of the Bible, it should be faith affirming that the psalmist's idea of creation is very similar to our idea of creation. Another thing that I came across was kind of interesting. I was reading a couple things about Psalm 104, and it says that in the ancient world, they had this idea of gods, right? They didn't worship one god; they worshiped many gods. But there's kind of this consistent theme of gods having to war against each other and war against elements, and oftentimes the sea was kind of this ultimate power that the gods would have to war against and have to ultimately win against to have authority. What's interesting about that is Psalm 104 talks about how God has authority over the waters and over the monsters of the waters. It talks about Leviathan, which you formed. You have authority over those things. And so the psalmist is kind of speaking to his culture and context, saying, hey, God is one God, and God has authority over all things, even the sea that you think is ultimately more powerful. God has power over the sea. God tells the sea what to do. And so you have this picture of God's sovereignty in Psalm 104, but also this idea of praising and worshiping the Lord for the power that he has in our world and the grace that he has for us who believe in him and follow him. And so I think really, I guess depending on where you're at, if you're having a tough time, Psalm 102 might be a great place for you to meditate on today. But if you're in a kind of worshipful spirit and attitude, Psalm 103 and 104 are excellent for that. It's just an incredible Psalms to read through and worship God as you do it. And so the takeaway today is jump into one of those Psalms. Like your part for today is tangibly go read one of those Psalms, stick around, listen to one of those Psalms, and just kind of process your day, your life, your situation through how the psalmist is processing those things. So if you're struggling, check out 102. Go ahead and tell the Lord what you're struggling with, but fix your eyes on him. If you're not struggling, you're just thankful for who God is, go to 103 or 104 and lift up your voice with the psalmist in worshiping God in his power and his authority, his sovereignty over our world, and his grace and his mercy for us. So that's what we got for today. We'll see you again tomorrow. I think we're jumping into 2 Samuel tomorrow, so we'll be back into some of this narrative that we jumped out of a little while ago. So I'll see you then. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to our take today. Before we get into the reading, if we could just ask you one thing. If you've been enjoying the podcast, if you could subscribe to us and then leave a rating and review. We'd love to hear from you, and every rating we get helps us reach more people. Ultimately, we're just trying to reach people with the truth of God's word, and your review will help us do that. So thanks so much for being invested in the podcast. Here's the reading for today. Psalm 102 to 104. Hear my prayer, O Lord. Let my cry come to you. Do not hide your face from me in the day of my distress. Incline your ear to me. Answer me speedily in the day when I call. For my days pass like smoke, and my bones burn like a furnace. My heart is struck down like grass and has withered. I forgot to eat my bread. Because of my loud groaning, my bones clung to my flesh. I am like a desert owl of the wilderness, like an owl of the waste of the places. I lie awake. I am like a lonely sparrow on the housetop. All the day my enemies taunt me. Those who deride me use my name for a curse. For I eat ashes like bread, and mingle tears with my drink. Because of your indignation and anger, for you have taken me up and thrown me down. My days are like an evening shadow. I wither away like grass. But you, O Lord, are enthroned forever. You are remembered throughout all generations. You will arise and have pity on Zion. It is time to favor her. The appointed time has come, for your servants hold her stones dear and have pity on her dust. Nations will fear the name of the Lord, and all the kings of the earth will fear your glory. For the Lord builds up Zion. He appears in his glory. He regards the prayer of the destitute and does not despise their prayer. Let this be recorded for a generation to come, so that a people yet to be created may be able to praise the Lord. That he looked down from his holy height. From heaven the Lord looked at the earth, to hear the groans of the prisoners, to set free those who were doomed to die, that they may declare in Zion the name of the Lord, and in Jerusalem his praise, when peoples gather together and kingdoms to worship the Lord. He has broken my strength in mid-course. He has shortened my days. O my God, I say, take me not away in the midst of my days, you whose years endure throughout all generations. Of old you laid the foundations of the earth, and the heavens are the work of your hands. They will perish, but you will remain. They will all wear out like a garment. You will change them like a robe, and they will pass away. But you are the same, and your years have no end. The children of your servants shall dwell secure. Their offspring shall be established before you. Psalm 103. Bless the Lord, O my soul, all that is within me. Bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who forgives all your iniquity, who heals all your diseases, who redeems your life from the pit, who crowns you with steadfast love and mercy, who satisfies you with good, so that your youth is renewed like the eagles. The Lord works righteousness and justice for all those who are oppressed. He made known his ways to Moses, his acts to the people of Israel. The Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love. He will not always chide, nor will he keep his anger forever. He does not deal with us according to our sins, nor repay us according to our iniquities. For as high as the heavens are above the earth, so great is his steadfast love toward those who fear him. As far as the east is from the west, so far does he remove our transgressions from us. As a father shows compassion to his children, so the Lord shows compassion to those who fear him. For he knows our frame, he remembers that we are dust. As for man, his days are like grass. He flourishes like a flower in the field, for the wind passes over it and it is gone, and its place knows no more. But the steadfast love of the Lord is from everlasting to everlasting on those who fear him, and his righteousness to children's children, to those who keep his covenant and remember to do his commandments. The Lord has established his throne in the heavens, and the kingdoms he rules over all. Bless the Lord, O you his angels, you mighty ones who do his word, obeying the voice of his word. Bless the Lord, all his hosts, his ministers who do his will. Bless the Lord, all his works, in all places of his dominion. Bless the Lord, O my soul. Psalm 104. Bless the Lord, O my soul. O Lord my God, you are very great. You are clothed with splendor and majesty, covering yourself with light as with a garment, stretching out the heavens like a tent. He lays the beams of the chambers on the waters. He makes the clouds his chariot. He rides on the wings of the wind. He makes his messengers winds, his ministers a flaming fire. He sets the earth on its foundations, so that I should never be moved. You covered it with the deep as with a garment. The waters stood above the mountains. At your rebuke they fled. At the sound of thunder they took to flight. The mountains rose. The valleys sank down to the place that you appointed for them. You set a boundary that they may not pass, so that they might not again cover the earth. You make springs gush forth in the valleys. They flow between the hills. They give drink to every beast in the field. The wild donkeys quench their thirst. Beside them the birds of the heavens dwell. They sing among the branches. From your lofty abode you water the mountains. The earth is satisfied with the fruit of your work. You cause the grass to grow for the livestock and the plants for man to cultivate, that he may bring forth food from the earth, and wine to gladden the heart of man, oil to make his face shine, and bread to strengthen man's heart. The trees of the Lord are watered abundantly, the cedars of Lebanon that he planted. In them the birds build their nests. The stork has her home in the fir trees. The high mountains are for the wild goats. The rocks are a refuge for the rock badgers. He made the moon to mark the seasons. The sun knows its time for setting. You make darkness and its night. When all the beasts of the forest creep about, the young lions roar for their prey, seeking their food from God. When the sun rises, they steal away and lie down in their dens. Man goes out to his work and to his labor until the evening. O Lord, how manifold are your works! In wisdom have you made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. Here is the sea, great and wide, which teems with creatures innumerable, living things, both small and great. There go the ships, and Leviathan, which you formed to play in it. These all look to you, to give them their food in due season. When you give it to them, they gather it up. When you open your hand, they are filled with good things. When you hide your face, they are dismayed. When you take away their breath, they die, and return to their dust. When you send forth your spirit, they are created, and you renew the face of the ground. May the glory of the Lord endure forever. May the Lord rejoice in his works, who looks on the earth and it trembles, who touches the mountains and they smoke. I will sing to the Lord as long as I live. I will sing praise to my God while I have being. May my meditation be pleasing to him, for I rejoice in the Lord. Let sinners be consumed from the earth, and let the wicked be no more. Bless the Lord, O my soul. Praise the Lord.
Thanks so much for listening to God's Plan, Your Part. If anything stuck out to you, if you have any questions, or if you'd like to receive a Bible, you can email us at godsplanyourpart@gmail.com. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, please consider supporting us through the link in our description. We love that you're on this journey with us, and we hope you have a great day. See you tomorrow.